Yeah. No, I was going to say we've known each other for a while. We've met up quite a few times at the events, and I know you run a pretty significant business for Spanish learners, right? You help people learn Spanish. Big YouTube channel, and you also do these in-person trips. And I thought, why not schedule a call with Brenda and just talk about the whole thing? How did it get started? How did you get into teaching on YouTube? And share some of the lessons that you've learned. I'm gonna dig deep. Are you ready?
All right, I'm ready. Thank you so much. This is gonna be so exciting. I'm interested in this conversation.
Yeah. So tell us a bit then how you got started.
Yes,
teaching on YouTube. Yeah.
It's been quite a story. I mean, it's been a process, right? And I'm from Argentina originally. My school is called Hola Spanish. And I live in Sydney in Australia. So I'm an immigrant here. So when I started, when I moved to Australia, I had to obviously get a job. So I got a full-time job in corporate, and I was doing marketing, which is something that I wasn't really necessarily interested in. And it's so interesting when you look back, when you just connect the dots. So that really helped me. I also had to work I actually got into that job working as an operator. So I was in customer service, which would also lead into, what I do a lot of with my students right now. So all these things when you look back. And in the afternoon, because I love teaching, I was teaching in a Spanish school, one of the biggest Spanish schools in Sydney. And so I was going to my corporate job, 9 to 5, and then going to the school, teach Spanish until 11 p.m. and then do that all over again. So I was loving teaching, but it was getting a little bit too much. And I always had this idea. This is before COVID. So Jan, to give us a little bit of an indication of where things were at that time. And I remember people telling me, because I had this idea, I want to create an online business. And because through my marketing job, I realized that the big potential that the US market was compared to Australia is rather small. And so I wanted to create an online Spanish school and teach my way, because I had to teach this book that was not the greatest, in my opinion. And so I wanted to teach my way. So that's how I started. And the school was a little strict that you had to teach the book, but you could add certain materials to complement the studies. So I created my YouTube channel to help my students understand certain topics or to expand on things. And that's how I started to, create these YouTube lessons. And then I thought, I want to do this online. But people, Jan, was telling me, you are crazy. Every single person I spoke to told me, you are insane. No one, Brenda, will give you money to learn Spanish online. No one will ever learn Spanish online. And I was like, I'm sure there's a market. Duolingo was just sort of starting at the time. And yes, and then COVID hit 2020. And that's, when I was ready, let's say, at the time. So you asked about my membership, how I started. And that's this is why I was giving you a little bit of a background on my stories, because as you can see, time was not the greatest asset in my life. I was working a full-time corporate job and then going to teach. So on the weekends, I could do the lessons. I was doing my YouTube channel as well. And so my problem was that I had already a couple of leads, through my YouTube channel, and I had nothing to sell them because, creating courses, and I'm sure a lot of language teachers can relate, takes so long, at least for me. Maybe I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well, but it just takes so long between you do the planning and then you do the recording and then you do the editing and then you upload it and then the sales page and this and that. I was thinking I need something to start making money now. And that's when I thought, what about a membership? I can commit to creating 1 or 2, at the time was 2 lessons a week, deliver that. And then my evil plan, Jan, was to, once I had all these lessons, create the courses the other way. So instead of creating the course and then selling it, I was selling the course, creating the course as I was doing it in the membership, and then eventually creating these courses to sell separately.
Yeah. Did you know that you could build a business this way when you started?
No, I had no idea.
It was really just for your students at the beginning.
Well, at the beginning was mostly led by what I could do to serve my students, especially with the YouTube channel. I created a beginner's course, which is not my main niche right now. My niche is definitely intermediate level. So students around A1, A2 level. So they already have the basics. And that took me a while also to figure out that was my niche. So I created 4 books from 0 to, let's say, A2. And, you know, with everything, it was completely done by me, the illustrations, and I had this course. And I think that was a big lesson for me. And that's something that I implement, particularly with my immersion trips, is you need to figure out if there's an interest before you create something.
Yeah.
And that's that was the big lesson. And when I was doing more the intermediate, I can't take that time, that however long it took me to create this beginner course. So I thought, okay, I'm going to first ask if people are interested. And I already had a couple of videos that were going viral, that were more intermediate level. So I knew that was the better path. And that's when I created the program.
So when you started out, you created these books for beginners.
Yes.
And what happened to the books? Are they still around?
It's
or did
there.
you sell
It
them,
sells itself. To be honest, like I have a couple of sales a month, which is very welcome. Thank you. But I don't promote it. I actually have one video in my YouTube channel that it's doing its job. I think it's the second most viewed video that I have. But I'm gonna say I think things are changing. The thing is, when I first started, it is true that people are not at the time. I'm going to say that has changed nowadays. But when I started, people had already decided that they wanted to learn Spanish, had already done something. They've gone to a course, that they've done the basic face-to-face thing. And now they started with Duolingo, and then they got to that point where they're like, okay, I know all this vocabulary, these words, these random things, but I have no idea how the language works. I have so many questions. And that's when I would come in and help them out to get to the next level. So, yes, at the time, I found it really hard to find people that were 0. How do you find someone that is thinking, I want to learn Spanish? At the time. I think now, and especially when the belief was that I don't think people can learn a language online. So I think now it has shifted. I think a lot of people will probably go first online instead of joining a group and committing to an 8-week course. I think, and that's something that I've seen change, and I think is fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So starting. How do you learn how to do YouTube? You said you have a background in marketing. Like, are you still using
affiliate marketing? It was affiliate marketing, so it's not something that I can actually implement. But I think it helped me with the analytics part of things. I had to obviously analyze a couple of things and numbers and things like that. Not that I'm any good at it. It's the least thing that I enjoy of the business. But I think it was just a creative outlet for me. Because when I was teaching in this school, I was so restricted by the book and what I had to teach that I needed it. I needed to be creative and express the way that I wanted to teach a topic, or explain something in a way that would help me, how I would learn it. And so I think it was mostly just when my mom was watching at the beginning, my sister giving me a like. It was mostly a creative outlet. That's the first, right? That you always get those first. So it was something like that, more like a creative. And I did it because, I think that's a key thing. If you really struggle to enjoy it at the beginning, it will be so hard. I was enjoying it so much that I didn't care if I didn't have the views, the likes, the comments. It was literally something that I was doing to express my creativity as well in teaching the language.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take to make more money with that than with your regular job?
That's such a good question. Because funnily enough, I was waiting for that moment when, I was going to start making more money. And I got pregnant with my first child, and I was still working, the corporate. So then I had to obviously take maternity leave. And I made the really hard decision. Hola Spanish, I was already doing it for a year. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to have to pick. I can't continue to dream with this Hola Spanish thing. And so I decided, I actually made the decision, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit this project because I wasn't making a lot of money. I was probably making, I kid you not, it was probably $600 a year or something crazy like that. So I quit, and then I had the most beautiful baby. He was sleeping all day. The house was clean. I had made all this food, and I was just sitting there like, so what do I do now? And then I was like, I just needed to create the lessons to interact with my students. My students were still growing and everything. So I was like, okay, I have a year, because here in Australia, you can take up to a year of maternity leave. And I decided I'm going to replace my salary with my business, and then I'm going to quit my corporate job. And I didn't quite make it, Jan. I think it was maybe 3 months to the end of my maternity leave. And I think I was like short by at least $800 a month or something. And when I told, my husband, he was like, you're not going back to work. If you can make that money, you can make $1 million. Yeah. You're not going back. So that was the decision process, pretty much.
And then you just continued to be patient, to keep growing. And then eventually it did happen, and you did manage to make a sustainable income with this new project.
Yes. And I think the one thing that I think helped me was because at the time, remember, that was my evil plan to create the membership, the content, and then little by little create these courses, and then having these courses to sell, and then you can hear all the different parts there. And I was reading and listening to different like business podcasts, and someone said, you need to focus on one thing. Just focus on one thing, sell one thing. Always repeat that, and then build it to whatever you want to build before you add anything else. Because then you start adding complexity when you have, like, say, different levels. Who are you talking to? So that's basically how I did it. I'm just going to concentrate. I stopped trying to create these different courses. I'm just going to promote and sell my membership and my program, and build it until, like a certain amount. Every year I had a goal of how many members I want to have and grow by and retain as much as possible. And so that was pretty much it. So that's in my YouTube channel. That's the one thing I promote. When I do my email marketing, that's the one thing that I promote. Now I have other things, but I started to grow it like that. And I think that really helped me to focus on just one thing. And that's pretty much how I created the business.
Yeah, I want to learn more about the membership, but then first about YouTube, because I've researched language channels on YouTube for a while now, and I see that for like most languages, English, French, German, like that. There's Japanese, I guess. There's many languages that have like a few huge channels, right? With over 1 million subscribers. I think for Spanish it's more scattered, right? I don't think there's many channels with over 1 million subscribers. Like, there seem to be many channels for learning Spanish, but they're all more or less. I think your channel is probably one of the bigger ones. But it seems very competitive. How do you manage to? Any idea how you manage to well, I'm going to say to beat the competition? How you beat the competition? How do you manage to stand out?
Right. Well, I wish my story was like, oh, well, I went viral and then everything folded into place. Like, I built this YouTube channel brick by brick, Jan. It was not something that I remember hating people who had these stories of like overnight, they just had a video that went viral and then they all started like that. I was so aware of trying the strategy of like creating content that will be enjoyed, that would help people, that was searchable, that all these things. And I grow it very, very slow. It was very slow at first, and I can see now some new channels emerging, and they grow so much quicker. And I'm like, wow, that took me a really long time. So it's good to see the support. And I think, sometimes, we focus a little bit on the how many followers, and I think that's an indication perhaps of how many people trust in your channel. These are like, I like this girl, I'm just going to give her a like and follow. But I think those things are mostly vanity metrics, especially these days. It doesn't really matter as much now. But I would say I was just always trying to stay on my lane and focus on what I'm doing. It's actually, to me, when I go into, say, other channels or other teachers, especially Spanish teachers, I get so demoralized. I go into that comparison mode. It does me more harm than good, I try to just maybe focus again inspiration from other language teachers from other languages, see what other languages are doing. Say for example, English, which is English, it's its own sort of niche. It's very different. But French and Italian, and what are they doing? Because I feel like there is no comparison there. I don't go like, oh my God, Stefano, teacher Stefano, he's more pretty than me, or or he has more followers, or oh my God, everyone loves him. It's Italian. I can find inspiration and motivation instead of like going into that rabbit hole of like, are my followers going to leave me and go into this other? And something else that we were actually talking about with some language teachers that I met in the inner circle and the creators empires that you created, is we were talking about that, and someone sent an email, and we put a photo because we all took a photo together, and we were actually having dinner. So it's so good also to have these moments when you connect with other teachers, and they're not your competition. If you really look into it, they're, we're all part of the same community that we're creating as a whole. And so I got an email from one of my students saying like, oh my God, I can't believe you were, I'm following, I got their email and I saw your photo and this and that. And, sometimes they see Cesar as well. And, the Spanish coach. And it's like they all know us. And I think they get excited when we're together because they're like, oh my God, they know each other. And so I think, sometimes I also saw this expression, is like, you think like your audience is like a pie and we only get one slice. And so if you take a slice, and then I get nervous because, oh my God, the pie is getting smaller and smaller.
Smaller, yeah.
But then I think the way to look at it is like, we're a bakery. We're in the business of creating pies. There's no slices. We're not cutting slices. We're baking pies, and like there's slice for everyone. I really truly believe that, and I personally do it myself. I consume. If I say consume something that is business related, I don't just follow one person. I have many different courses. I go to many different conferences and consume. When you're really interested in something, I think you actually purchase and consume more resources than you would probably say just one person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like going to events is a good example, right? You don't. I mean, you're very active. You live in Australia, but you've been,
yes.
I think, already twice to Europe this year, right? Twice?
Oh, it's probably been more, to be honest, because I did a Barcelona tour in May.
You were in Amsterdam,
been to Rome, Netherlands with you. So yeah, it's yes, I'm taking advantage of this because I realize we don't know, things are changing so much. And I've seen it, the beginning of the journey in this business, and then now transitioning with AI and all these things happening. I really don't take anything for granted. I don't take my students for granted. I don't take my business for granted. I take advantage of the now and the possibilities, the options that we have. So I'm saying yes to a lot of things.
Yeah, I was going to say like about the events that if you're really interested in something, you don't just go to one event. And also, like, the thing that happens is you go to one event and then you meet people who've also been to other events, right? They say, oh, well, there's also this other event, you should go. And then you go there as well. And then in the end, you're still going to both, right? And going to one event actually caused you to go to the other event. And then you go to the other event and you meet other people. It's just you're getting more. I guess you're just getting more. You're getting more community. You're getting more of what you're looking for. And sometimes going to a competitor event or buying a competitor course, if you want to call it that way, actually makes the students, if they have a good experience and they meet fellow students and they hear other good things about you, they will come back to buy from you again. All right. So I think that's one thing that we've done really well in the Langpreneur space is that there is very I mean, sometimes I do get people come to me, Jan, I'm not really sure, like, should I say this? Should I talk about this in the group? Because I know that some people are doing the same thing and maybe they're not going to steal my idea. Every now and then I hear it and I get it. But I think overall, I think everybody is very much willing to share what's going on. And there's just no sense of competition whatsoever, especially if you compare it to other other niches. I talked to Giovanna from Teachable. I had her on the podcast last time here, and we talked about that. And she said, "Yeah, I noticed that with these language guys." I said they're sharing so much and they're so open with each other. Like they don't see that in other niches so much. And I think that a lot of it has to
give you credit for that. I think you created this community that it's very welcoming. And because when I was going in, you always going on like, oh, are we gatekeeping here a little bit? Are we going to share? But then I think the more that you share, and I think we all bring us still our own little twist. And
and another thing that I wanted to say about that is that everybody has its own personality, right? So people like Cesar because of his podcast, but then, they also like Brenda, and Brenda is a different person, and she has this membership, and Cesar's doing this, and if I want a podcast, I go to Cesar, and if I want to listen to, it's just as long as you have a personality, like some people will like you more than Cesar, and they will buy your stuff, and some people like Cesar more, and they will buy. Like the Dutch Prime Minister, for example, follows Cesar on Instagram. I didn't even know that. Like he showed me in Amsterdam. He said, "Look, who's following me?" Rob Jetten, our Prime Minister, has an Argentinian partner, and
shame on him.
I think he's learning Spanish, so he followed Cesar on Instagram. And the funnier thing is that Cesar wasn't even following him back.
Wow.
But just saying this to say that
yes, I think we all bring our own personality a little bit as well. But I think but you never know, I think, where things are going to take you. If I am in a photo with Cesar and then the Prime Minister goes, "Oh, she's Argentinian. Oh, maybe I should learn some Argentinian."
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I mean.
Really never know, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about any other like things that worked well for you on YouTube? Is like a top
in terms
three
of, because I think maybe I didn't talk about but you were saying about the comparison or how competitive is the market nowadays for especially Spanish. It's not as big as some English channels that have millions and millions of subscribers. I think it's changing a little bit. There are way more channels now emerging and growing quickly. But I think what I do is I try to notice, but don't go deep. So I just go surface level. What are the topics that seem to be doing well? And without looking at the video, I think the moment you look at a video from, say, someone that is, a competitor, I don't like to use that word, but, for lack of a better term, I think that's when you're ruined. You're ruined your whole creativity. You will not be able to think about how to create this lesson and make it you. But I think you can be inspired by certain topics, the titles. That's something that I'm noticing. And it's just a different game these days. When I started, it was pretty much straightforward. This is what the lesson is. That's the title. And this is the thumbnail that I done in like PowerPoint. Horrible. Then we evolved to Canva and these things. Now it's all AI. Now it's about entertaining, being more curiosity driven. And it's something that I'm still discovering. How can I bring still my personality into this new era of learning, of attention, of what are people more interested in watching while they're also learning Spanish. Yeah.
So a lot of it nowadays comes down to doing research and also coming up with hooks and titles and thumbnails that grab people's attention.
And I think a lot of testing of trying different things, but at the same time knowing what works for you and what gets you the most leads. And it's a bit of a balancing game where when certain topics will probably get more students that are interested in what you're selling, which is your business. And at the same time, you need to also create some content that will bring people into your world without having to necessarily go into your email list just yet. But they're probably still testing. They're interested in learning Spanish or in that particular topic. And the more they see you, the more they see the way that you teach, then they go into your world. So these little different strategies that we have to continue to test.
How much are you using AI for the video production process?
I am doing it more now, but I have to say I was a late adapter of this because I was doing it for so long. It was actually taking me longer to try to figure out how to figure it out than just do it. I teach Spanish. I've been doing it for a really long time. So for me, it was almost therapeutic to start with a blank page on my Word document and go like, I know I'm old school, but and just go like, how am I going to teach this and what I'm going to say? And to me, that was part of the creative process. So I don't need it as much, but I do try to refine or look for topics or how to get an angle that is a little bit more interesting than what I used to do in the past that was working, but perhaps doesn't work anymore. And so that's what I'm leaning more into AI to help me with the brainstorming or to get angles or how to make the title more interesting. Because I'm so honest and transparent that I just go like, I'm just going to tell you what it is in the title and all this mysterious thing. I'm learning to be a little bit more mysterious these days.
So you use it for scripting, coming up with titles. What about like thumbnails?
Scripting, not so much. Scripting, a little bit more, maybe like perfecting or some examples, things that how can you simplify this example or give me more something like this? But I do enjoy the creating part of the lesson. But then especially with the titles, the ideas for the thumbnail, I would say that is what I'm using it more these days.
Yeah. All right. What about video editing?
Video editing.
Because I know there is software that like can automatically cut clips or turn like longer video into shorts and all of that. Have you?
I'm not really doing that. I have an editor now, and that was also part of the creative process. I used to love editing the videos. That was the fun part. I'm going to say that at the beginning, I do miss it sometimes because that's when you kind of like create the lesson, you're going to cut it here and then you're going to add these things. And, but it used to take, I think for one YouTube video for me, it would take around, if I like it, finish, I would say 16 hours of editing.
16?
I could do it in 8, but that's a long time. That's ridiculous. So then I had to obviously get an editor on board. And so I have editors that help me with the editing part, but I think it's important to also use AI and start making it faster, and then trying to get the shorts from the long form as well, and chopping it a bit. But I'm still working with editors. I haven't really done the AI thing. Have you?
Yeah, I think you still need editors, especially like in the language space, because you need to, like when you teach, you want to show the words on the screen and everything, right? I'm not sure if AI is good at that yet. I know there is software that we use to cut long videos into like we've been running challenges for teacher AI, and for those challenges the creator record like the answer 30 questions in like half an hour, and then we need to cut like each question needs to become a video, right? And then sometimes the person stutters or like is halfway through answering the question. Oh no, let me start over again. And AI is pretty good at just like cleaning that up, so cutting that long piece of video into 30 different clips and get rid of the stuttering and like when those parts where the speaker starts over again, like it's pretty good at identifying that. And then of course, like the auto transcription and all of that works pretty well. But yeah, we still have someone who checks all of that, right? Yeah. I think if you want like transitions and I don't know, like good storytelling and good hooks and all of that, I think you still do need manual editors.
You probably need someone. But that's impressive. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, even like the software that I'm using now to record the software, it's called Riverside, right? And like after this interview is done, like it will automatically create clips for me that I can upload onto YouTube for shorts. And it's pretty good. Like it analyzes the transcripts and it looks for the interesting parts. And then it will just select those parts and I can just download and upload them. And most of the time it's pretty good. Also, it's a podcast, right? Like I do not really need any fancy editing. So yeah, things are getting easier.
I know. And I think that's the problem, because everything that you're saying is something that I have tried, but then the result wasn't good enough for me to justify keep doing it. So for example, when I do say, oh, okay, cut the sections that are interesting, it just goes to like random sections. And I think the problem, I would say, with our industry is that we are language teachers, and language is the bare minimum need for communication. So, you know, when you have to guide them, what I do is all my lessons are in Spanish completely. And because I want to train my students to actually challenge them to be able to consume the whole thing in Spanish and give that a try. And the reason why I started doing that is because I noticed when I was looking into other English teachers particularly, they don't go into, some teachers do only focus on, say, teaching English to Spanish speakers. And I'm sure there are, like, say, French English teachers only for French students. But I think most of the time they just speak English because their audience is all around the world. And that's how, you know, most people. So I was like, I started testing my audience to see if they could understand more and more Spanish. And I started to be more speaking Spanish more progressively throughout my my YouTube videos. And then today is pretty much 95% of Spanish. But because of that, there is a bit of a language barrier when it comes to AI and editing. I guide my students a lot with like text on screen, words that I know going to be are going to be new to them. I make sure that I write it. And sometimes if I know it's a really new word, I'm going to write the translation. And so all these things is really hard to get AI to understand. Maybe not, but to understand what part of, I know my students so well. I know exactly what words and phrases they're going to struggle with. And it's really hard to teach AI to learn that as well and to do that to your video. So the clips that I have seen cut from my long form hasn't really been good, didn't make any sense. It was easier for me, I always found, just to do it myself manually or get my editor or my team to do it.
All right. I just checked out your channel. I saw that you almost have 500,000 subscribers. That's that's pretty cool, especially in the Spanish space. So congratulations with that.
Thank you.
The membership then, right? Why many people who start out, they don't know, like, should I create a course or a membership? You started out with a membership because it was just the fastest way for you to get started, from what I understood. If you started over, like, would you start again with a membership, or like this membership?
100%.
You've been running this for quite a few years now, right? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yes. I would definitely start again, and I would do it the way that I've done it. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages like anything. There are some things that, I think the most beneficial part of having a subscription-based program is that once you build a certain number of members, you have that steady income. You know how much money you will be bringing into your business every month. Because, not everyone's going to disappear. Of course, you have churn and people that decide not to continue and cancel their memberships. But I think overall, there is a baseline that you go, I know I can make at least this amount of money every month. And I think, to me, that's security that gives me peace of mind. I don't have to worry about am I going to sell the same amount of courses next month. But I think the caveat to that is the content creation part. The way I structure my membership is now you get a full lesson that I don't share anywhere else, with a study plan. And so you have that on the Monday, you have to do that lesson. And then we created this community as well, which is also a big plus. I did not create the membership thinking of the community aspect. And you basically build a community of students that know each other and they interact. They even catch up. If they're from the same cities, they actually become friends. It's fantastic. And then the other aspect of my membership is they have a conversation class, small group conversation class every week. And that's also when they also start to get to know each other. And so it's a lot of content to create. So then I have like my YouTube video content every week, and then the lesson, compared to, say, if I already had set courses, I can just market and focus on marketing. And, the course is done. I don't have to create. So I am a bit on this like constant content wheel creation, where I'm literally creating new content every week, not every week, but we try to batch as much as possible. But I think that would be, I would say, the downside is when you have to create the content. Some people loop their membership. I noticed that I have around, most members probably stay between 3 to 6 months. It's the average. But there is, I actually did this and I got the numbers. There's 15% of my students who've been with me since the beginning. And they're still there and they're very active. So I am petrified. And, I've been running my membership for now maybe around 6 years. They will know. If I, redo a lesson or if I post it again, they will 100% know. They will comment about it. They will tell me about it. And these people that I know is not as many, but they are very active in the community. And so I feel like I owe it to them to continue to create new material. And it's also something different. I look different. Can you imagine if I now post something that I did 6 years ago? That would be funny. But, it's something that I am thinking about. Perhaps maybe not every month, but a couple of months, or maybe re-recording the lesson, because the lessons are really good as well. So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place with the advantages, disadvantages. But I think,
no, it's good to know, yeah.
I think one of the other downsides of the membership is that eventually, imagine if you're running it like me for a really long time, is you start to create, there's so much content that you need to be worried of, are you overwhelming your students with all this content? You can imagine you sign up to this program and then you go like, you have all this content to consume, which for a lot of people, it could be something positive because you have endless resources. And for other people, it's like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. They don't know maybe where to start, or they think they need to consume everything. And when they fail, they will probably decide to cancel. So there's the way I've been trying to control that from happening is I give them access to the content only for like 4 months, and then it disappears. So I actually have content that, is not showing anymore, but I know that those 15% of my students will definitely know if I repurpose it. But
would they really? Would they remember content from 6 years ago?
I think they would. They're amazing. They're so committed. I don't even know. I mean, I'm impressed the amount of time they have to contribute and everything. I mean, I could test it maybe 1 month.
Especially if you re-record it.
If you re-record it. But you see, if you re-record it, might as well maybe create something new. I don't know. Because then you have to edit it. I think the bottleneck is me, not so much my team. I have now a team that helped me create the lessons. But then it's like I have to record. And so I try to record. I can probably do around maybe 2 months worth at a time. Plus, maybe for YouTube, I can probably do up to, I would say, between 4 and 6 videos. And then I start to be super flat because I'm tired. So, I have to be mindful of that and organize ourselves. And it's sort of like something that we have a system that it's working. But it's definitely, if I could clone myself and record twice as fast, and then they get the editors to edit the videos as well, we'll probably do it a lot faster.
All right. So the membership, does it still keep growing after so many years? Or is it stable?
Yes, well, interestingly enough, remember when I say I was just focusing on I only had my program to promote, and I was doing it on my email campaigns, my YouTube channel, everything, my socials. But then I started to do immersion courses. And when I started to have and all these other courses, and now I feel like I was growing my membership pretty consistently every year after year. And now I feel like I'm stuck because, I had to promote other things. So I can't, it's like when you start to divide the attention of what you want to promote to your audience is when, but I'm happy, I guess. With so I now have to maintain it. It's at a good level, and then also I do enjoy doing other courses that I'm now focusing on as well. So it's trying to find that balance act of what to promote, when to promote it.
What makes a good membership, in your opinion, in a language space?
Well, I think the community, definitely. I think a lot of people come in because they want to improve their Spanish. They want to be more confident. But then I think they create these incredible connections. So I think that's...
How do you do that? Like when you say like you need to, yeah, when you say like you need to create a good community, like how do you do that? Is it just like putting people in the same on the same platform or in a WhatsApp group, or like how do you create a good community?
I actually don't have a WhatsApp group. That would be interesting to test. I just don't know. I mean, you have a WhatsApp group for your subscriptions. I don't know how that works in terms of like there's going to be so many messages coming in, and it will be hard to monitor. I guess I don't know how you do that on a big scale. So the community is created basically when they show up to the group conversation classes. They now know who's going to what particular time, so they actually go to the specific time to hang out. They also, exchange numbers, and they sometimes meet in person. But the comments inside the membership, I give them homework as well. And so they have to reply in the comments, and I go and reply to their comments as well. And in the comments, sometimes I go and there's already 10 people having a conversation in the chats, in the comment section. And I haven't even given them my feedback yet. And they're already interacting amongst themselves. But I'm going to say, for anyone that's discouraged, it doesn't start until you need to have at least 300, I'm going to say, or 500 members. At the beginning, it's just you going like, hi, guys, let's be friends and let's all talk to each other. And then nothing happens. You have crickets. And then it takes a couple of people that are, usually in this 15% that I was telling you about that I, of course, absolutely adore, and to get the conversation going, and then everyone feels more comfortable to share. At the beginning, it's like, who wants to answer this question? Who wants to go first? You do this all the time, Jan, and no one, and then after that, after you have the first hand raised, then everyone joins, sort of thing.
How much is the membership?
Well, I've changed it over the years. At the beginning, I think I started with $15. So then I think after a year, I changed it to $29. Then before, I think it was 2022 was when I changed it to $39. And then I wanted to, because, I offer so much, and the results that we're getting are absolutely incredible. I think it's worth a lot more than that. So I always wanted to take it to $50, around $49 for a really long time. But then it was the worst time in the world, all these crises, all these things. So I decided I don't care. This year, in January, changed it to $49. So it's $49 now, but I would say most people are between the $29 and $39 a month.
Yeah. And for that, they get a weekly lesson, and then you say like a group lesson. Is this like a small group lesson with like 8 people in a room, or is it just you on the live stream?
It's around conversations between 3 to 4 students, and there's the teachers. So we have teachers and it's all very informal. And this is something that I think is maybe because of my background. I know some teachers are very specific of what they want their teachers to teach during the conversation classes, and they even have the handout and everything like that. I give my teachers more freedom to create what they want, and they bring all these incredible topics and conversation ideas. So I would say also be mindful to be open about that as well. Because I think if you select your teachers very well, and I think the teachers that work for Hola Spanish, they all have this specific sort of vibe, and we're all very similar. So you start to share the same values, and I think that's worked really, really well for us. But for me, the conversation class is not a Spanish lesson. So you can also do one-on-ones if you want. But it's a conversation class. The idea is to come in, have a conversation, and not prepare. A lot of people also give them what the conversation is going to be about, so that the students are prepared. I want to try to mimic real conversation as much as possible. You go into a conversation and you don't know what questions are going to come up or what your answers are going to be. And when I have shared what we're going to teach or discuss previously, they all are like this. They're reading their notes because they want to say exactly how they wrote it in their notes. So it's very informal. And most of my students, I think, come in with so much anxiety and fear of talking because they have so much Spanish in their head, but they can't just get to speak. And so the whole idea of the conversation class is a relaxed environment. We're all here friends. No one is judging you. You can take as long as you want to answer. We're just going to be there. We're patient. And then we build their confidence as they stay. And that's worked really, really well.
So if you have thousands of people in the membership and only 4 people in a classroom, does that mean that you have to facilitate hundreds of lessons per week, or how does it work?
Yes, pretty much. I think I run, I think it's 22 now, 22 different conversation sessions.
A week?
A week.
Oh,
yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And how do people sign up? Can you just walk in, or did you need to select a time, or every week? Or?
It's interesting. We did a lot of trial and error. I mean, it was at the beginning, it was open, you sign up to however many. Now we give them up to, I think, three weeks in advance that you can register for 3 conversation classes, 3 weeks. Because a lot of people sign up and then they forget, or they ignore the notification, or, so it's they have to sign up. They can't sign up more than 3 weeks in advance.
Okay. And how many teachers do you have?
I have right now 12 teachers.
Okay, wow, so it's a pretty big operation.
Yes.
So your team it's you, it's 12 teachers, video editor, and then I guess people who help you creating the course, or are these the same teachers? Like, what is the team
so
look
I have
like?
one full-time employee, and that's my sister. So she knows me very well, and what I love working with her is that she knows my voice, and so she knows my teaching style as well. And she's also a Spanish teacher, so that's the perfect combination. And so she's the head of content creation. So she helps me with, we have meetings, we discuss what we're going to do in the membership, and also YouTube, social media. And then she goes, I'm like, approved, yes, I want this, let's change this. And then she goes and helps me create all these. And so she deals with the editors, the finishing thing, and I usually review the last sort of version of things and get the last approval. So, she's a big part of that side of things. And I'm the marketing. You're looking at her. I went from affiliate marketing to this email marketing, I suppose, is what I do the most. And then my teachers help me run the conversation classes. One of the teachers, because I was telling you I was pregnant. A month before giving birth, I was like, maybe I'm gonna need help. So I decided to that's with my second baby, and so I hired this teacher to help me run the conversation class, because at the beginning it was just me, and now she's the head of all the teachers. I never hear a problem she solves if the teacher is sick or can't make it or anything. I don't hear anything about it. She deals with everything, which is fantastic. She's doing a great job. So I have a couple of teachers that I have put in different other jobs. Some help me with support, VAs, and I have a couple of those teachers working in the conversation classes, also doing content as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, then the final topic, one that I think a topic that's quite unique for Langpreneurs, right? Is you do these in-person immersion trips in Barcelona and in Buenos Aires, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So my main tour are Buenos Aires, Barcelona, and now I'm doing Madrid.
Twice per year, or how many? Tell us, how does it work? How many people join? How often do you do it? Like, price points? Is it stressful? Is it fun?
Right. So the immersion courses, it's something that I want to do for a really long time. It's definitely stressful. It's time consuming and it's very intense. But I think it's wonderful. And if a lot of people ask me a lot about it, and sometimes I can see in their head going I could never do that. I think it's something that you need to obviously enjoy and know that it's going to be intense, but it's also an amazing experience. So usually it depends where I go. So my first one was in Buenos Aires, and in Buenos Aires I can have up until probably, if I wanted to, around maybe 40 students, but I only take around 27, or I would say 27 is a good 27.
That's a lot already. Yeah.
I try to run 2. So I do 1, then have this is a rookie mistake. The first time I did 2, I did 1 back to back. I almost died because you need a couple of days to breathe and to recover my voice, because I'm talking all day. and I was starting to lose my voice towards the end of the first group. And I was so concerned that I wasn't going to be able to be there 100% for the second group that I knew going forward, we're taking at least 3 days in between the groups. And it's been fantastic. It's really meeting a couple of my passions, which are traveling, teaching Spanish, and then connected with my students. And there's something about being there in person. Most of my students, I always invite my members first. So that's also a little bit of an extra perk for my program. Like, you get invited first, and then if it's sold out to my members, then I don't offer it anywhere else. And there's something really special as well to meet my students in person, particularly the members who've, created and helped me create Hola Spanish all these years. Yes, the challenge is that I would say the managing your energy, because you're there for the whole day and you have to be there present as well. And organizing the activities, so that takes a long time. So you get paid, but then you still have to plan the whole thing, and then you run it. And yes, and it's obviously not as, I would say, profitable in terms of margin compared to an online business, because obviously I basically have a couple of lights, the internet, and a computer, and then of course if I had to edit the lessons myself, it's just different to having to pay for hotels. The hotels is the most expensive thing. All the activities, transportation, all these things.
How much is it? If you want to join.
Depends. So the Buenos Aires one is around 3,000
US dollars.
US. And for Barcelona, I think it's around 4,000, because everything is more expensive in Europe as well. And the problem with Barcelona as well, they only allow up to 20 people. It's a government thing. So any tours, you can only have up to 20 people. So that means I am one of the 20. And then my sister also helps me run the immersion courses. So there's 2 of us, so I can only sell 18 spots. But it's also really nice. And I try to run 1 or 2 depending on how much time I have.
Yeah. How long did they last? It's like 5 days?
I do it for, in total, is a week.
Okay.
A week. Yes.
And it's the same, like, I imagine that once you've done this trip and like the activities and all of that once, and you know the hotels and you know where to go, then you can just run the exact same playbook, or like do you get repeat customers?
Absolutely. The thing is, and there's a couple of things. So the first one is the one that's going to take you the longest, and it's going to be the most expensive because you have the time that you have. It's time consuming. But some other people, I know teacher Stefano, I mentioned him before. He's an Italian teacher. He does it through an agency. So the agency pretty much organizes most things. So that's so smart, of course. I did it all myself. I strap the boots and go for it. But I actually like it. I actually do enjoy creating the whole experience, going for the activities, changing an activity if I don't like it, or, depending on the feedback of the students. But, there's different ways to go around it if you don't want to plan it, the whole thing yourself. And for me, it's also, so once you do it, the first time is the hardest time. And then once you run it, then you can pretty much do it again. But I'm always tweaking things. I'm always changing something. I'm like, no, this tour, I want to do it here. That didn't work. We're going to go here. We're just going to do this. We're changing this. We're changing that. So I'm always tweaking. I'm still, I'm still changing things. But I think that's part of also trying to make the experience better every time that you do it. And, my students have loved it so much. I have students that have come to the Buenos Aires tour, and they've done the Barcelona, and they're like literally holding their money going like, Brenda, where are we going next? Take my money. Where are we going? So I'm like, I don't know. I ran out of places. So I did a bit of
somewhere else.
Yes, right. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do a poll, guys. Let's do where do you want to go? And the majority picked Madrid. So I'm doing a Madrid tour now. And so we are in the hard process of having to create the whole experience, the activities. And there's also, I know I've run this successfully in the past, but the first time you do anything, it's always a little bit more nerve-wracking, you know, think how things are going to go. But I'm going to say, Jan, the most important thing that I did before I started with the immersion courses was because sometimes we're creators. We love this idea. We have all these ideas in our heads and we want to do it. And we do it. And sometimes you want to build it before you know if it's going to work or if there's any interest at all. So I remember when I was very interested in doing the Buenos Aires tour, I decided I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to ask my audience if they would be interested in coming. I didn't tell them how much. I can't remember if I mentioned maybe a price range. But I asked my audience, would you be interested in coming to Buenos Aires in, I can't remember when it was, November. And I think I got like, I'm going to say it was like 500 people. I can't remember if it was 500 or 700 people that say yes. And I got them to go into a list. If they wanted to, they could opt in to get more information. And so I thought out of 500, I mean, maybe I need to sell 15 spots. You don't have to sell all 27. You need 15 to make it viable. I'm like, you're not going to get 15 people out of 500. I say, we're doing this. And so, yes, it's a little bit nerve-wracking when I have to sell it because it's almost like I have to ask the hotel.
You lose money, right? Yeah.
Yes, you have so much money the hotels particularly that are so expensive and they fill up very quickly. So I have to like wait for the booking, like keep the booking while I'm trying to sell the course. And I don't know, I can't tell them specifically how many people will sign up. And I'm sure you have this experience too. It's like trying to manage the bookings while you're trying to sell it.
Yeah, because you need to, I mean, so in this beginning of October this year, we're going back to Tenerife, right? And we rented out this... basically a small private resort, like you've been to the place, and they say like, yeah, okay, if you want to make a reservation, like you need to tell us like almost a year, at least 6 months, but often like a year in advance, and you need to make a down payment, right? And even like if you don't fill up the event, you don't sell enough spots, like you can lose money or like make very little if you don't end up selling as much as you hope. So yeah, there's always a bit of risk there, right? Even if you don't need to pay the full fee up front. Yeah, often those hotels often work with all down payments, and you need to sell a minimum number of seats.
Yes, I'm lucky that I not necessarily have to put a down payment, and sometimes the down payment might actually count towards the however final amount. You know, if you have to change numbers, sometimes that works as well. But yes, I think the thing with the immersion courses is that there's so many variables, things that you cannot control. And I have changed, the terms and conditions many, many times to accommodate people, and to also you need to be so specific about what they can expect from the trip and who is the trip for. Because I made that mistake with especially my first tour, the Buenos Aires tour. I didn't maybe specify how, there's a lot of cobblestone streets, places that are hard. And so you need to specify the fitness level, who the trip is for, because you just say, we're going to learn Spanish and we're going to have fun in Buenos Aires. And then you forget about the certain things and then you have to deal with it when you're there. So...
I remember you telling me a story. I might have mixed it up now, but I think you once told me that you organized a tour in Buenos Aires and then someone showed up in a wheelchair. Is that correct?
She was, I tell you what, she was amazing. Her Spanish was incredible. Peggy, I love her. Yes, but that was my fault because I didn't communicate really what to expect from the trip, who the trip was for. I didn't expect one of my students to show up in a wheelchair, but why wouldn't they? I mean, I don't know. But I remember, yes. Oh my God, I was very nervous about that, Jan. It was because I only found out, I think maybe like 3 weeks before that, because, one of my students, her daughter, I still didn't have her, the daughter was Peggy and her mom was Fred. And so it was Fred. So I thought Fred was like the spouse. And so I'm like, hi, I'm missing Fred's details. Can you please send me the details? And then she's like, my mom, I'll send you the information of my mom. And I'm like, my mom. And so, you know, I have the age there, and she was like maybe around 79 or something years old. And I was like, how old is your mom? And so I didn't think about it. And yeah, so she showed, and she was wonderful. She was super accommodating. She was a gem of a person, didn't have any issues. And, you know, everyone helped as well, Jan. Everyone pushed that wheelchair. And through La Boca in Buenos Aires, it was no problem. And she was such a good sport, never complained. They were absolutely beautiful to work with. But I felt like we managed. But then, you know, you have to adjust and change it so that the people know what to expect from the trip, and who is the trip for was very important.
Yeah, so these trips are often for elderly people, right? Often about in the 60s, 70s and beyond, apparently. Is that what we can expect?
You know, I think, you know, most of our audience is, at least, you know, in the Spanish language space, most of our students are retired. That's when they have the time, and they want to go back to what they love doing and all these hobbies they once had. And they start to take back Spanish and learning Spanish, improving their Spanish. And these are the people who obviously, I would say, have more economic or financial means to attend, you know, a 4,000 course. Also, you know, I say it's in May, in this week, you know, they have the time, they have the funds to do it, and also the willingness to enjoy life to the fullest is there in that stage of life. So it's actually really interesting. It's so lovely because it's almost like you see them in this almost like, I don't know, high school or a school trip, but they're adults, and we're having so much fun, and we're creating these incredible connections as well. To this day, I am part of every single group, because, you know, I create a WhatsApp group to be in touch with all the students. They're still talking to these days. I ran that Buenos Aires tour in 2023. So, and every week I'm still chatting to them in the comments. It's incredible, the community that it creates, but it's a lot of work. I try to take 5 days after I finish my immersion courses to just, I'm not going back to work, and I'm not reading an email. I'm literally chilling because it's very intense. It's a very intense experience. I want them to have a fantastic time. Obviously, it's a sort of high-end product, and you want to make sure that they are getting their money's worth. So, you know, we're there all the time, bringing all the energy. And so it's very depleting to your, and I'm an introvert as well. So sometimes I need to go and sleep and rest my voice. But then it's also important that at the end you chill and not do much.
All right. Brenda, thank you so much for sharing all your little secrets about your business, giving us some insights on how you operate. Really interesting. Anything else that you would like to share with our listeners, or are you good?
Right. I thank you so much for having me. This has been a great conversation, so much fun. I don't know if I think I spoke a lot, but that's my background as well, I suppose, being Spanish and all. I would say the last thing I would say is, yes, I think we need to be sharing more. Sharing is definitely caring. And yeah, I think I would leave everyone with that. Like, we're at a bakery, we are baking the pies, we're not sharing or trying to steal each other's slices.
Very important thing. We're going to keep that in mind. Talk to you soon, Brenda. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode and you like these conversations about building businesses in the language space, then make sure to check out our live events. And we also run an inner circle community it's a networking community for people in the space, for builders in the language space. You can go to www.creatorempires.com to learn more. We're also on Instagram, by the way, where we have some, where you can learn more about what we do. I will add the links in the description. See you next time.